what difference and or similarities do you believe herbalism has in the present day compared to 50, 100, or even 200 years ago? Huge question. There's a lot of different ways we could think about this. In the context of Western herbalism, if I'm going to go back, and I'm only going to sort of partially answer this question. If I go back and I look at the eclectics and the physiomedicalists, and I look at their entries on plants, they knew a lot more about a lot of plants than we know now. You know, it's not uncommon to look at an entry on golden seal and see that it had cardiac uses. And to my knowledge, I don't really hear people talking about golden seal for cardiac uses anymore. So there's a bunch of information that, we've lost. And I want to clarify too, I'm talking about the eclectics, I'm talking about information that's written down. There's also a lot of oral tradition information from various cultures across the globe that we don't understand in the same way anymore. And so in some ways you can look at the herbalism of today and, there's a bunch of stuff that's gone. There's a bunch of stuff that people don't know anymore or don't quite understand anymore. And maybe even the context has changed because people now are, they're kind of the same as we've always been, but things are also different. Our lifestyles are different, and that impacts health so much. But also I could go back and I could think about the eclectics and the physiomedicalists who I have learned so much from and say wow, there's just a bunch of, almost entirely, especially with written information, almost entirely all white men. And, so now I'm seeing more representation of different cultures and different traditions of herbalism and the way that they interact. And different types of people, right? Types of people related to culture, related to tradition, related to gender, related to all kinds of different things. And that is so much better because the more diversity we have in the presentation of the information, the more rich the herbalism we have now can become. And I want to say too, I really like a highly individualized kind of herbalism. There are traditions and there are certainly people who prefer a codified system where everything is there's this and this herb is like this and that herb is like that. But I think that so much of herbalism hinges on the relationships we have with the plant we use, and everybody's relationship is different, both individually as individual people, but also culturally, and the more that we can have representation of cultures without having to sort of turn them all into a uniform mush of an everything kind of herbalism where everything is deprived of its origins, I think that can enrich us all. And so as that is happening and hopefully continues to happen and happens even more, I think that will bring out aspects of the tradition of herbalism that will be as rich as it has been in the past. Or at least that is my hope.